It's a travel day, but there was no way that you guys weren't getting a special weekend edition of the Amped Up Show, featuring the SmackDown review for 11/22/24. A show that rocked two huge returns. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Paul Heyman. And look at your TV! What did you see? CM Punk! Montez goes solo! We ain't talking Sikoa. Naka with another night knockout! Solo Sikoa demands Roman surrender ahead of War Games. Wave the white flag. Cody and KO finally find their flow and crush their promo. Jade Cargill had a really rough night. And Chelsea Green, hit it, BC. Chelsea Green not only defeats Davenport and Belair on the same night in the same match, but she also receives one of the biggest pops of the night. Now, I know it's Tiffy time, but I also know two things can be true at once. So maybe, just maybe, it's also Chelsea time. No matter what, I do know what time it is now, and it's time to get amplified. Red team, go! Gold card channel members, put them up! Diamond unit members, put them up! The Amped Up Show, SmackDown 11/22, the Amped Up Review. Let's do this! So then you say, hey, BC, to which BC says, hey, how you doing? What do you need? You say, BC, how you doing? I just was asking a question. I say, ask the question, boss. And you say, what makes this show check off every box, or damn near every box, BC, when most don't? And BC says, I'm glad you asked, boss. Let's go over it, because my statements, they're always backed by facts. Let's start with box one. How about you have a storyline, right? Solo wants Roman to surrender before War. You don't need to do this. It's 5-on-4. Nobody wants to work with you. It's a simplistic thing, but you know what? The way they went back to Roman and the boys backstage, and they're really conflicted, and Roman's like, listen, if we all just band together, who needs a fifth? We'll die on that hill. We'll rock it out no matter what. 5-on-4. Who's in? And everyone's like, I'm with you. Of course, the Usos, right? That's fam. Sammy's the last one because he's like, I'm in. But what's the plan? And Roman's like, I don't know. Without the wise man, I don't know. And we just sit on it for a second. We fade to black into a commercial. Things like that, man. How about a storyline? And this whole time, the Bloodline storyline has been kind of hot and cold. Paul's been running it. Heyman, not Levesque McMahon. It's been Paul Heyman. So that's the only reason it's been good many times. But there's been a lot of cold points in this story as well. But last night, that was... I'm like, all right, let's see how this is going to conclude. So you have a storyline. Well, what a concept. Box checked. How about somebody who has been more have earned this than deserved? I don't like the word deserved, but she has earned this spot in the company. But yeah, she also has deserved this moment last night. Somebody like Chelsea Green. I can't do Samantha's Chelsea. Hey, Lillian. Was it Lily? Who was it? Alicia or Lily? One of the ladies. She tried to do the Chelsea. She was about 50%. We'll keep it around. She tried to hit that on the introduction last night. But how about Chelsea Green in that massive W? Did you hear the pop? Yeah, man, when somebody who you know should be in that spot, a lot of fans want to see her in that spot, and she keeps being held down because Hunter keeps going, well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. She's not in the plans now. Everything's got a season. We'll wait on it. No, man, come on. To have Chelsea have that victory in moment, box checked. I'm not even done. The simplistic moment backstage, or in the parking lot, I should say, with Jade laid out. You didn't even see the attack, but damn, that was a pretty cool... Hey, if you're going to finish a match, if there's going to be like a distraction or something, how about Jade laid out on top of a car? Windshield busted up. She's not moving at all. Is she even alive? Box checked. Parking lot. big, frantic situation happening. Ambulance is taking off, sirens blasting, Bianca's in the back with Jade, Bailey and Naomi are distraught. Yeah, simplistic, but box checked. How about the promo of the night, right? You had that electric promo. KO and Cody, they rocked it. They damn well rocked it, and you know it. Man, they brought the amplification, the passion. More of that, please. Leave the 5-piece political suit in the back, Cody. Check your smile at the curtain before you come out. And let's just get that amplified, Cody. And KO, that's KO, man, just in his habitat. Ready to rock out in a big match, because this one is going to be bigger. I'm sold after that promo. This one will be way bigger than what they did in Berlin. What they did in Berlin is like a regular-sized M&M. You ever see those little M&Ms, the original? And then you get the peanut M&M, right? That's like 2 or 3 times the size of that little M&M. That's going to be this KO versus Cody match, whether it is at Survivor Series or they do hold it for Saturday night's main event. Box checked, promo of the night, rocked it. And of course, you had the surprises, right? Every good show needs a surprise. You had 2 of them last night, 2 big returns. CM Punk wasn't gone that long, I understand, but we were highly anticipating his return with Raw, especially being so damn bad as of late. You really felt the void of CM Punk. And you had Paul Heyman. Did you hear the pop that Heyman got? He knew he was going to get it. He let it sit for a moment. Paul Heyman came back. CM Punk came back. So you had storyline, promos rocking off, 2 big surprises, somebody who was more than deserving of a big win and big pop, and she got it, a backstage melee that we didn't even see, but it was done so beautifully with Jade Cargill. That's what I mean. I don't just nitpick just to hear myself talk. I don't want to be negative just for the sake of screaming about BS that I didn't even enjoy. No, I love pro wrestling. I know what it can be and should be. So on this channel, we don't sugarcoat, we don't BS, we rock out the truth, because if we come together and be honest, we can get shows like that. Fuck yeah! BC's had a lot of coffee. Traveled them, man. Travel days, travel weekends, travel weeks. Sometimes I travel most of the month. A lot more coffee than I'm even used to, guys. If you can even believe that. So we rockin', bro. So anyway, that was like a cold open after the cold open. That's what I mean about checking off every box. That's what I mean about SmackDown. Two weeks in a row. Two. That's right, BC. 2 weeks in a row. We had a decent to even good show. It's almost like I'm hesitant to call it good, because I know if I do, we're going to get like 83 weeks. There you go, Bischoff. 83 weeks of just horrible television again, right? Horrible SmackDown. So I don't want to, but I want to give credit where it's due. You know, when you produce a top to bottom, for the most part anyway, good show. Damn, man. You know, that's what I love. That's what I get most amplified about, when I get to speak positively about pro wrestling. For everyone goes, he's so negative. He's toxic in the community. No. Give me positive shows, man. I would love to get amplified positively on these shows. Thankfully, I get to do that with this one. All right, that's enough, man. Told you I've had a lot of coffee. Let's get this thing rocking, man. From the start. SmackDown 11/22/24. Show starts with a bootleg Bloodline. Solo says Roman's not here yet, but when he shows up, he's going to acknowledge him. He wants him to surrender before War Games. BC was thinking in the moment. That was it. It was only 9 minutes into the show and we went to commercial break, and all we got was Solo going, Roman's not here, but when he does show up, he's going to acknowledge me. That was it. I was like, oh no, this show is not coming off. We're not starting this the right way. We had a good one last week, and something tells me this is going to go off the rails. It already has quickly. 9 minutes in, we go to commercial. Michael Cole started us just by going, hello everyone, welcome to SmackDown from Utah. I'm like, oh boy, man, no pyro, no energy, no good theme music to lead us in, and then you have Solo going, Roman's going to acknowledge me. He hasn't the past 83 weeks. There you go, Bischoff. He hasn't before, ever, but now he's going to acknowledge me. I'm thinking, is that really what we're going to do? The same old tired, let's have a face-to-face so you can acknowledge me. But what I didn't realize, right, let it play out, BC. It's one of those let it play out situations, right? Most of the time when we're told that, it's like, no, don't let it play out because they don't have anything planned. But for this one, I was willing to let it play out. I'm like, all right, it's the start. Let's see where they're going with it. And I'm glad I did because they really played hard on the Solo wants Roman and his team to surrender. You don't even have to go to War Games. Wave the white flag and just admit your defeat, forfeit up front, and join our bloodline. And Solo actually says that in the final segment, which we'll get to in a few. But I like how they went back, and again, that backstage segment when Roman and the boys are in the back, and then they're really trying to contemplate, what do? We don't have anybody. And I knew when they said, one of the, was it Jimmy or Jay? They said, I think it was Jimmy maybe said, I could try Cody. And Roman says, no, I'm past that. So then Jay's like, we could try Seth Rollins again. And Roman just gives him a look like, absolutely not. And it was then where I realized, we already knew it wasn't going to be Cody. They're doing a separate thing with KO. But Rollins is who we were thinking, unfortunately. I said it was Punk, Lesnar, or bust. I've said that from the beginning. I put that in several uploads just this week. Right? You guys know how I feel. It had to be Punk, Lesnar, or it was a bust because they included Paul Heyman last week. You wouldn't include Paul Heyman for Seth Rollins. But the more the week went on, the more we were hearing, no, it's most likely it could be indeed Seth Rollins, and it's looking that way because Bronson Reed joined, and everybody was going, well, Bronson's in, so they have to put Seth in. And I was so against that. But when they said, I can try Seth, and Roman looked at him, I go, maybe it's not Seth, man. Because now they're building this up, and if it's just to hear, burn it down, oh, and you do the stupid Disney sing-along with Seth's theme music, if it's all for that, I don't even know how this review would have gone today. But I knew when they said that, I'm like, maybe they do have something else. Is it going to be like a Lesnar or a CM Punk? But I like how quickly I was like, all right, the first segment didn't land. It was just Solo saying he's going to acknowledge me, surrender. 9 minutes, we're already into a commercial. But as the night went on, the story picked up, and I really started to think, all right, they're playing up this surrender thing. We might get the fifth guy tonight. It might not be a pop-up at Survivor Series. And sure enough, by the time the night ended, we got two big surprises. Two big returns. So that was the start of the show, though. I wasn't hooked at first. Then the storyline really kicked on through the night. And, of course, the culmination, that epic cliffhanger at the end. The first matchup of the night, Chelsea Green versus Bianca Belair versus Blair Davenport. This was a U.S. women's title tourney first round triple threat. Say that 10 times fast. Let me try that again. I think I nailed it, actually. But just for my own comprehension. U.S. women's title tourney first round triple threat. There you go. Now, these gals got 10 full minutes. Love the finish. Bianca's about to cover Davenport, but all of a sudden, Jade Cargill appears on the Tron. She's been pushed off a loading dock through the windshield of a car. Refs are calling for medics as Cargill lay motionless. Bianca is conflicted, but ultimately chooses her tag title partner and rushes to the back. This leaves Green and Davenport. Davenport for the fruit roll-up. I was like, no, nobody kicks out of the fruit roll-up in pro wrestling. But somehow Green is able to kick out. Unprettier is hit on Blair. Green for the pin. 1, Green 2, Green 3. Chelsea wins and advances. Chelsea Green, and the crowd goes wild. The crowd erupted, guys. It was so awesome. I knew she was getting over. I knew fans like BC, especially critics who follow pro wrestling tightly with a keen eye, we definitely saw the progression and so many positive moves forward for Chelsea Green. But to hear the general crowd, and again, I believe they were in like Utah, give that type of response for Chelsea. Bianca was supposed to be the top face in the match. Now, I understand she wasn't part of the actual finish, but you listen to that crowd, it sounds like they were all going for Chelsea more than anybody else. I know BC was, and I love Belair. I put Belair up on a pedestal. But, I mean, just Chelsea Green have a moment like that, a match victory like that? And they gave it to her. And the crowd erupted. Man, what a moment for Chelsea Green. Do I think they're going to let her run the gauntlet through the tournament and win this U.S. title? I do not. Would I love it if they did? Absolutely. No question. I got no problem. Now, you have to make it believable, though, because you did kind of make her like a comedy act kind of figure for the last, really, since she's gotten to the roster. Back to the roster. So you got to take this comedy act and make her look like she is believably going to run through all of that talent. Because as much as I put Chelsea on that pedestal as well, as much as I love seeing these match victories and Chelsea get what she has earned and more than deserves, I also know that there is better, quote, wrestlers, technical-wise, and just catch can, or aerial assaultist, or in many boxes, there's better athletes, obviously, right? Naomi, athletically wise. Okay, if somebody says Charlie Flair is a better actual wrestler than Chelsea Green, I'm not going to argue that. My point is, you're going to have to find a believable way if you want Chelsea to make it through the tournament and win that title. But she's technically still a heel, so she can still do dastardly deeds and cheatery tricks to at least get to the last matchup to determine the title winner. But I don't know, man. This was so cool to see. I didn't know if they were gonna. I thought they were gonna do something weird, like they give Davenport this big victory because she showed up to the roster. They had nothing for her. They had her sit at catering and eat triple layered moose cake. And then Hunter's like, "All right, we're gonna give you a big win tonight, Davenport." But people don't realize just a victory out of nowhere doesn't do anything for you. You have to have something planned behind it, and we know they do not for Davenport. We just saw that with Candy LeRae. Right? Candy LeRae showed up out of nowhere after months of eating triple layered moose cake at catering. She pins Bayley, and to this day, nobody's getting out of their seat for Candy LeRae. Much respect, much love to Candy LeRae, but nobody is. She's in flux. She's like trying to get the attention of Nia. That's her storyline. Well, I'm glad she beat Bayley to do it. So you could have gone for a shock victory on Davenport. For BC, like most in Utah and probably a lot watching that show, we were going for Chelsea. And damn it, they actually booked it correctly. For once, they didn't go against what the people wanted, and they just booked it. Chelsea Green. And the crowd does not go mild. It goes wild. That was so awesome to hear that reaction and for her to see that and the look on her face. So awesome. Then we went into it was the men's U.S. title. So that was the women's U.S. title tournament to spark off their title inception. But for the men in their U.S. title, this was a title match. LA Knight, your champion, versus challenger Santos Escobar. Now, I know, if you're wondering, is this a rematch, guys? Of course it is. BC's got the stat for you. 9th time this year. Twice on SmackDown alone. So if you feel like you've even seen it on the Blue Brand show on a Friday night, you have. Twice before. And recently, too, within the last few months. So yeah, it's absolutely a rematch. But I did realize while watching this rematch, it doesn't matter how many rematches they have, at least we get to see Elektra Lopez. Elektra Lopez out there, and I'm like, oh, you guys wrestle. I'll look at Elektra if I get bored at any time during this matchup. Elektra Lopez, that's all you need to say, right? A different wise man once said, a mastermind, right? A scholar in his own right once said, Yowie wowie! Elektra Lopez. All right, let's get back. In all seriousness, back to this matchup. Before the bell rang, Shinsuke appears, that's right, Shinsuke Nakamura on the Tron, and he cuts a promo on Knight in Japanese with subtitles. Kind of like what he was doing before he took off with the feud with, who was it? Was it AJ Styles? Cody Rhodes for sure was a different feud as well, but he was kind of doing this type of gimmick. Show up on the Tron, try to get in his opponent's dome piece, the Japanese, the subtitles. I like it, but it has to lead to something. It can't just be that every week, and then he just attacks simplistically, and that's kind of what they're already doing with Shinsuke. I'll explain in a minute. But this was a pretty cool thing. He's back up there. The distraction itself allows Escobar to attack Knight as the match gets underway, but the advantage would do nothing in the long run. as LA counters a Phantom Driver into a BFT for the pin. Pretty cool finish, actually. Post-match, Shinsuke attacks Knight again, and that's the segment. That's what I mean. Like, if you're just going to do another attack on Knight, you got to get more creative than what you did last week, and I don't feel like this was. A few more boots, maybe? But it was just Knight attacking, and then he walks off, or should I say Nakamura attacking, and then he walks off, and Knight's just trying to regroup. Elevate. A little something more was needed last night if it's going to be another Shinsuke attack on Knight. But Knight was knocked for a loop, and he was struggling to get back to his feet as Nakamura took off. So they are going to continue this Knight Nakamura. I'm not done with it yet. I'm just, elevate it next week for sure. Our number 2, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens. A near face-to-face promo. And what I mean by that is Cody's in the ring waiting for Owens. Owens is in the crowd. He starts in the crowd. Then he gets amplified, so then he winds up on the top of the commentary table. They can't get to one another because there's a bunch of security. I use that in air quotes. Bunch of local indie talent playing security. They're making sure that Owens doesn't get off that commentary table and try to get in the ring. They're making sure Cody doesn't get out of the ring. So they're between them. And they begin the process of what will be the promo of the night, promo of the week, and contender for promo of the month. Both of them. Cody would edge it out because he had more to say, but Kevin Owens was amplified. He literally, Kevin Owens is literally furious that Cody lent his hand to Roman Reigns, and he's hanging his hat on that dispute. That is the sole reason he is blaming Cody Rhodes. Because after all he did to Cody, meaning Roman, after all Roman did to Randy Orton, and especially what he did to Kevin Owens over the years, you're just going to help him out and tag with him. That's how you operate. This is your fault. This is on you. And Cody came back with an absolute slingshot promo of his own. And he was probably the most amped up I've seen him in the company. And I'm talking, he's had 2 WrestleMania builds and feuds with Roman Reigns. This Cody Rhodes, man, was he feeling it, fully amplified. Cody Rhodes says it's Kevin Owens playing the victim. You can tell yourself that it's my fault. But this is Kevin Owens doing what Kevin Owens does, and he plays the victim. And he goes on about how decorated Kevin Owens actually is in the company and in the industry, and will go down as one of the best of all time, and the only one that doesn't know it is Kevin Owens himself. Owens, man, and Cody, I would need another 20 minutes if we were going to dissect everything they were saying, because it was just so good. You believed everything coming out of Kevin's mouth. You believed in the amplification that Cody was spewing. And that led to Cody saying at some point, it was funny, he says maybe tonight, maybe at Survivor Series, maybe it's going to be at Saturday night's main event, but we will have our match, we will fight. And KO goes, it'll be on my time. The crowd starts to boo Utah, and he looks at the crowd and he goes, well, now you just made sure that it wasn't tonight. That was great. So little things like that, like just not being scripted either, just being in the moment, playing off the crowd, letting it breathe. So damn good, guys. Now this, and for me to say this, if you follow the channel, you know how I feel about KO and Cody's so-called feud. It was absolutely dumb from the jump. Cody says, I want to face my friend Kevin Owens. And that's it for Bash in Berlin. There's no build, there's no story. It's just this friend has nobody else. Right, there was nobody else for Cody. That's the truth. So they just said, how about Kevin faces you? And they didn't have enough time to turn Kevin Owens, right? They couldn't turn him heel. So they were just like, we're just going to have a friend-friend match. We've done it before. It was just so odd, though. Kevin Owens plucked out even Kevin Owens had to put in the storyline that he didn't really deserve it statistically, wins and loss-wise. It was just weird. And at the end of the match in Berlin, they were just shaking hands and hugging and showing mutual respect. But last night, that one promo sold. Even if they want to fast track it to next week's Survivor Series, I'm sold. That promo, with all the security between them, Yes, it was just so beautifully done. I can sit here for another 20 minutes and try to tell you 86 different ways on how good this was. This was so damn good. I love when Cody just leaves the suit in the bed. Kevin Owens said that too. He says, I know you mean business and you're serious because you left your political suit in the back. Something like that. I love when he leaves the suit in the back. Just put the cut off. Sleeves can be cut off. Love it. Leave the smile in the back. The smirking, all of that, and just be amplified Cody, man. That's what I love to see. When these wrestlers, when Montez stops having red cups fall on his head and he stops the dancing, I love when Montez gets serious. When Matt Riddle would throw his scooter to the wayside, stop his dumb smiling, and just get serious. Serious Matt Riddle was best for business. And you can go on and on. Miz, when Miz is serious, man, Miz can actually get himself into really good stories. Hour number 2, so beautifully done. Cody, KO, BC sold off of one promo. We then went into, this was easily unfortunately, I don't want to say worst match of the night. You got to show the ladies the utmost respect. It was definitely the down point of the night was this tag match, and it's unfortunate. Hunter doesn't really know how to book these ladies in totality. And you saw it again last night, and with this weird, forced, rushed War Games match for the ladies. So last night you had a weird tag match, Naomi and Bayley versus Candy LeRae and Tiffy Time. SmackDown star, Candy, Raw star. Tiffy, Candy, Bayley, and Naomi are all SmackDown. My bad. I'm getting confused now because on Raw, all of them are showing up to Raw as SmackDown stars. You have, like last night, Io and Rhea showing up from Raw to SmackDown. You're losing track of which brand these ladies represent. And that's because if you saw my upload yesterday, you know internally there is no brand split anymore, guys. There is none. I'll speak on that a little bit more in a minute. But let me just go over this match. Naomi and Bayley versus Candice LeRae, Tiffany Stratton. Match was a mess. The finish was messier, and the post-match was messiest. All the women were just brawling ahead of War Games. That's it. That's all Hunter Hearst Helmsley has for them. Right? He's rushing this. It's so forced. He's taking people from Raw that don't even belong. Right? Just watching Io with Naomi, Jade, Bianca, it doesn't even fit. It's just so odd. And then you have to mesh Tiffany and Nia in the business they have on SmackDown with the business that Liv and Raquel have on Raw. That's just weird. And all Hunter has to sell us on it is just brawl, brawl, brawl. So this match just turns into a brawl. Io Sky comes out to her theme, by the way. Her theme is rocking out. This is a Raw star, and her theme music is blasting off. So if you're a casual fan, a lapsed fan, or even a diehard fan that just can't keep track of this brand split, you're hearing theme music for a Raw woman. Rhea Ripley, too. Rhea came out to her music, but it was just so fun. I had to laugh when I heard Io's music playing. I'm like, what the... Like, where is Nick? Nick Aldis is okay. Nick Aldis is like anybody who's in War Games. Stop by SmackDown. We'll have your music keyed up. Io's music, just have her run out. If she's a Raw star, don't cue up her music. Give the illusion that there's a brand split. Again, in yesterday's upload, I told you guys, internally, Hunter and WWE official, they're not even looking at the brand split as a real thing anymore. And I told you in yesterday's upload, you're going to see now more than ever, especially with Survivor Series coming up, and especially with Netflix, and especially with WrestleMania. You're just going to see wrestlers popping up whenever it's convenient for Hunter and WWE. They're not going to have a reason. They're not going to have an excuse as to why. They're not going to make a big deal out of it. They're not going to make you believe that there's a brand split that they actually try to uphold. Io's music plays, and BC literally LOL'd. It was legit. So everybody just starts brawling because, brand split. Having these ladies just brawl is not creative. It's embarrassingly sad. It's not entertaining. It's plain stupid. Can I give you any more of a blunt review? Much love and respect to all these ladies. They have to get better booking. So... that's it. There's nothing more I can say about it. I hope the Women's War Games match goes a lot better. A lot of people are thinking like maybe Jade, this was a setup because we didn't actually see the attack. Maybe Jade is going to turn on, the faces inside of War Games. But they're still champions, right? If Bianca and Jade weren't tag title holders, maybe. But they're still champions. There's no reason to turn them. They've showed no signs of tension or dissension within the ranks. But I do feel there's going to be a massive swerve in that match, or at least there should be. Then we go into Montez Ford versus Tommaso Ciampa. This was a Montez one-on-one match. That's all BC saying. Looks like they do listen to the Amplified Man. Give Montez some single bouts, more single bouts. You ain't got to turn him on Dawkins or vice versa yet, but showcase Montez. They did that last night. Montez pins Tommaso. I'm going to say that again. Montez pins Tommaso for a massive win. It looked like Tommaso had it, but Montez somehow, it was like, what was that? A boot to the dome piece, a knee to the dome piece that looked like it was going to knock him out. Then Tommaso was setting up for fairy tale ending, but somehow Montez flips that into a hold 'em down. And I hate hold 'em downs. It's just a fruit roll up to me. But I was so hungry for a Montez solo victory. I was like, hold him down, hold him, keep holding him. Montez squeaks out the W, man, over Ciampa. Massive. On the same night, Chelsea Green with a big W. Montez with a solo big W. Hell yeah, BC's on for this ride. I ain't getting off this train, bro, if they're going to keep booking Chelsea like that, or Montez, if this is the beginning of something good, or are they just going to have him lose next week and it's 50-50 BS? But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want a future book. That's not the job here. Montez picks up this big W. Now, obviously, post-match, Ciampa's pissed. Ciampa attacks Montez. Dawkins hits the ring, starts throwing barroom punches at Ciampa. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Dawkins, man. The believability, right? These ain't just wrestling punches. He's throwing in fucking bar punches, street fight punches. So, obviously, Gargano hits the ring, tries to back off Dawkins off of his tag partner. So Dawkins grabs Gargano by his neck, bro. Just takes him by his neck like you little weasel. I'm loving Dawkins, bro. Dawkins is not playing. Recently, Dawkins says, I'm done being disrespected. Or I think his exact quote was, done with the disrespect. And then you see Dawkins, this new Dawkins starting last week when Motor City wanted to do mutual respect. And Dawkins looks at Ford with a smile like, are these clowns serious? And decks Motor City. No mutual respect for Dawkins. And then last night, Dawkins means business. Loved what I saw from Dawkins, man. So Dawkins grabs Gargano by his neck. Now this allows Tommaso to attack Dawkins from behind and then shoves Gargano. So Tommaso, second week in a row, shoves his own tag partner, Gargano. This would bring out Motor City for the save. And this is sad to say, but it's a legit review channel, so we have to talk about it. This is the only way we can get things to be better and allow these wrestlers to get better reactions, right? That's our goal here, man. Make everything better. Unfortunately, guys, Motor City got zero reaction. People, if they weren't already standing up, they didn't stand up when Motor City came out. There was the initial, right when music plays, there was or when people are coming down through the curtain down the aisle, there's the initial, oh, like people are coming down, who is it? You kind of heard that at first, and then the second they realized it was Motor City, you could hear a pin drop. You could look at the audience, nobody cheering or anything. I know they're new, but they went for the Grand Slam. They had them win the titles from the jump. They inserted them in some weird triple team feud with the Profits and DIY. But Hunter has his work cut out for him. I mean, Motor City, you're talking about two dudes that barely hit 5'7". Maybe it's a slight exaggeration. But, I mean, when you looked at that final image last night of Gargano and Motor City, if you stacked all three of those dudes on top of one another, maybe they equal a Great Khali. They're very tiny humans in terms of pro wrestling anyway. And when you have thousands of people and millions, well, it's not the Attitude Era anymore. It's not millions anymore. But when you have thousands and thousands of fans watching, you have to come across as larger than life. That's why we're watching, right? We want these characters to jump off the screen. We know they can do awesome wild dives and flips and do-ha-dickies. We get it. We get it, but you got to jump off the page in presence and aura. And a lot of that, the creative and the booking has to support that. So it's not even Motor City's fault, right? Not their fault. They were born smaller humans and they chose the wrestling game, but they can be greatly helped by creative and booking and Hunter helping. BC, what more can they do? Can he do? He threw titles on them. I always tell you on this channel, the titles aren't going to make the dudes and the gals, right? They're going to make the titles more prestigious, hopefully. And a big part of that is the booking and the creative and how the promoter is promoting you. Titles, a lot of times what we're seeing, guys, especially the last 10 years, titles will weigh down a lot of these wrestlers, not prop them up. The titles will weigh them down and become more of a detriment than helpful. We're hoping that it doesn't happen for Motor City. So far, these titles around their shoulders and the gusto that they've had from the jump, it's not resonating. That was sad when they made the quote save and nobody cared that they were out there. So that was the whole thing. But you know what? Let's stay with the positive part of it, man. Montez, a solo match that we've been asking for on this channel for so long, and a match that he defeated Tommaso. If they're going to stay a tag team, him and Dawkins, and I'm loving what I'm seeing with Dawkins. I love this new mean streak. I love they're not really playing heels either yet, right? Montez was still playing to the crowd. Still got the red cup in his hand. So I don't know really where they're going. I hope they're not going to be tweeners, because then they don't even know their identity. They're not going to know what they are, and that's going to translate to your audience. We're going to see through the facade. We're going to see through the charade. So know what you are and be definitive, because they were like that with Bobby Lashley. You thought they were heels, and then like a week or two later, they were already kind of playing to the crowd again, and then they were kind of heelish again, and nobody bought into it because they weren't even buying into it. We didn't even know what we were buying into. They didn't know who they were. You can't be a tweener. If you're going to have this new streak, this new edginess, rock it out. Speak with Hunter on the daily and find out how you can put creative and booking behind you that's going to skyrocket you. Montez with a big W. Then we go into the final segment of the night. Solo Sikoa and the Bootleg Bloodline wants Roman Reigns and the boys to surrender and join his bloodline. Roman and the boys come down. Instead of brawling, they're going to speak civilly before they go to war. Solo says a great line. He says, surrender. He goes, I still love you guys. That's what he says. I still love you, Roman. I still love you, Jimmy J. Sam. I love you guys. Don't you see this is for you? If you join my bloodline, we will be the most dominant force for decades. Solo is really believing this, right? Solo always wanted to be like Roman in that position, but he loves Roman. He wants Roman to be there with him. And Roman's like, dude, I'm not playing second fiddle to you. I brought you in. He doesn't actually say that. Roman grabs the mic and he's about to contemplate, do I surrender to Solo? And all of a sudden we hear throughout the arena, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed Paul Heyman doing the waddle strut through the curtain. Looks like he lost some weight. He ditched the tie and the traditional suit. He's got this black suit coat on, suit jacket. He's got a red shirt underneath. He looked good. Paul Heyman looks refreshed, regrouped, and ready to get amplified with Team OG. Because Paul Heyman wasn't the only surprise on last night's SmackDown. He says, no, not on my watch will War Games be 5-on-4. In fact, you cannot have War Games 5-on-4. Thus, he says it will not be 5-on-4. It will be 5-on-5. And he points to the curtain. Look in my eyes, what do you see? Cult of personality blast through the arena. Sure enough, as the crowd erupts, here comes CM Punk taping up his fist. He's ready for war. Gets in the ring, joins the bloodline, the OGs, and the bootleg bloodline, and they all start brawling. But this was a brawl that's justified. This was a good one. I'm thinking the second Punk gets in there, don't get on a microphone, just start brawling. Sure enough, they did. Ring gets cleared. Jimmy, Jay, Sammy over the top rope clears out everybody. It just leaves two individuals in the ring, Roman and Punk. They stare at each other. Crowd starts to go nuts, but only for a limited amount of time because Gorillas of Destiny would get in the ring. Gorillas of Destiny would be handled instantaneously, right? Roman drops a spear on one of them, and CM Punk hits GTS go to sleep on the other. So once again, we have the scenario of only two dudes standing in that ring. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, crowd going nuts. This is awesome chant, and it was actually a right place for it. I didn't mind that chant. If you're new to the channel, I can't stand this is awesome chants because I feel we do it all the time. We haven't heard it a lot often. Lately, I should say. And that's probably showing you how poor the shows have really gotten to. Unfortunately, how low these shows have gotten. Minus SmackDown last week, and hey, consistency this week again. So you heard this is awesome. You don't hear it that often anymore. I didn't mind that at all because guess what? That was pretty awesome, man. Seeing Roman stare down with CM Punk, even BC was maybe internally going, this is awesome! But it was! You know, with all the gripes I used to have with CM Punk, all the things that I didn't like what Punk was doing is when he left, he got so bitter that he was trashing the entire industry, and he was trashing fans, and he started to act like he was better than pro wrestling. That's when I was pissed off. And just the mere thought of people asking about, hey, is AJ Lee at least ever going to come back? And the way that he would respond, and you say, well, basically, the wedding day, man, they got the papers of the firing, and it was his wedding day. Of course you would never come back. BC was like, he's coming back. I said that from day one. CM Punk was always coming back. Eventually, AJ Lee's going to come. The McMahons always loved AJ Lee. Look at her booking, guys. General manager, multiple-time champion, all these epic storylines, and she was only there for a few years. The McMahons always loved AJ Lee, and I always said, wedding day papers or not, AJ's coming back. CM Punk is coming back. They should know that. So don't get too bitter. AJ never did. It was just when questions would arise, CM Punk would scoff that we would even have the ask the question or see how she was doing. Just everything he was doing, and I understand he left, and it wasn't a good way for him, so he got really bitter about the business, and he tried to become something bigger elsewhere so that everybody would look at him and go, see, he didn't need wrestling. That's fine. If you have voids that you need to fill personally, do it up. But trashing like the industry and scoffing at fans, that's where my issue was. And when he went to AEW, I was honest with you guys. That wasn't a good fit. There's no structure at that time in AEW. It seems still not to be. But there was no structure. And CM Punk, believe it or not, a dude like that actually does need some structure. He'll be the first to tell you that, I'm sure. And that's why that turned sour and got real bad real fast, and that didn't last long. But when he came back to WWE, I was like, this actually could work. I feel like he knows, like, after trying everything else out, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, and this feels right. So my whole point in all that is, man, CM Punk, since he has gotten back to WWE basically a year ago, right? I think he came back last year's Survivor Series. Since he's come back, he's been pretty much the brightest part of a lot of these shows. The biggest talking points and all that. That shows you something. In AEW, he honestly felt like just a third wheel. He felt like just an afterthought. He would do something and you didn't really talk about it the next day. It wasn't that big. CM Punk's return, and the final image of Punk staring at the entire Bloodline staring at Punk, and Paul Heyman is in the background, on the ring apron, but on the other side of the ropes, staring at the hard cam, but really just looking at Punk and Roman, and he's just got that smile on his face, like they don't see the plan now. They're sizing one another up, Punk and Roman, in the Bloodline. Everyone's got all these questions, but Paul Heyman's like, but I, the wise man, I know what I'm doing. I know what I just did. They don't even realize this is for the betterment of all of them. Punk was always a Heyman guy. Heyman was always a Punk guy. This made sense. For anybody that's upset that it wasn't Rollins, I don't know how you think that would be more fun than Punk. Seth Rollins makes no sense. I understand Bronson Reed's on the other team, so it does make sense. No, it doesn't. First of all, it wouldn't even make sense because of all that Roman and Seth have been through. Seth's just going to help just because? I'm going to go to war just because? It helps Seth more that he said no and stuck to his guns and stuck to his ground, because this will help Seth going forward booking-wise. People can believe when he says something, dude, he has conviction behind it. Seth Rollins said no and he meant no. That's going to help Seth a lot more in the long run, I feel. But that's not fun to have Seth Rollins as part of the Bloodline. No, Punk makes sense because Punk has ties to the wise man of the Bloodline. He's literally a Paul Heyman guy. And they needed somebody. So Paul went to one of his guys to link up with his Bloodline. Goosebumps, man. Come on. SmackDown 11/22/24. It's in the books. It was, for the most part, amplified. Second week in a row, it had a flow to it. It checked off most boxes. It had BC watching and thinking, hey, I don't mind this. I don't mind this show at all. When it's said and done, I won't go, what happened the last 2 hours? How did I just waste 2 hours of life like that? No. It went off the air, and I was like, hey, there's things to talk about. There's questions that we need to ask in a good way, that we actually want the answers to. There's things to look forward to here. Survivor Series feels a little more special. And if I'm able to catch Full Gear, at least the majority of Full Gear this weekend, I will absolutely give you guys my thoughts on it. I don't know if that would be part of an amped upload on Monday per se, or maybe its own upload, a pop-up, amped up show with BC, maybe tomorrow, maybe a Sunday version. I'm not sure. Be subscribed and notified anyway. You guys know the routine. You'll be the first to know when BC pops up an upload. But I do hope to cover Full Gear in some capacity, even if it is just my thoughts on the event, maybe not a full throttle review. But regardless, what a week. Thank you guys so much. All my subscribers from top to bottom, you guys are the very best in this community. I mean that sincerely. To my Amplified channel members, from my gold card handlers all the way to my diamond unit, you guys are my board of directors. You guys are the top tier of this unit. The utmost love, respect, and appreciation. Until next time, and there will be that next time. BC in the unit. We're out. Check you. Salud.